So this was the beginning of me making my daub for the swallows' nests. This is the sieved earth. These are the shapes that metal shapes that I had, and some raffia and canes, etc. And the rushes out of my fields. Interestingly, in the Arcadian, there was this Cassies and Cubbies, and I was like, gosh, here we are, nest-like wicker objects that had been made, oh, I don't know, hundreds of years ago, and are in the Orkney Museum. So again, something else to kind of look into. The swallows' nests outcomes were, yeah, they were fun, and they're on display. And some of them are. I managed to make a complete dome, and just wasn't sure how they would hold together. And some more images of that. Had to take them inside because they were kind of struggling to dry and they were a bit fusty. So I took them inside, and they dried much better. I continued this framework. I was looking for a framework that would be more stable to then put my earth on top. I wove this basket-like object, and I had more attempts. I wove the basket, fixed it with hot glue, and then I covered it with this raffia hessian sack cloth, and then I dipped and covered both in a kind of mixture of clay and water, well, earth and water. It's very like a slip, like a ceramicist would use. They dried, but they were still very like you touched them and it was like dust. So I ended up covering them in an acrylic medium to hold the clay. So that worked better. Instagram, I saw this post about this gentleman making a woven fence, and I put that in my sketchbook as a note for something that I might try and do for something on a bigger scale. These little ponds, circles here, are ivies. We were at the beach one day and Ivy made these sand pools at Sandside, and I just thought they were really beautiful and innocent, but also very reference to Richard Long and Andy Goldsworthy, I thought. It's wonderful. EArthBound, Orkney again. I went back to see that exhibition again. And the cubes. This is the earth from St Peter's Pool, which is in Deerness. It's very red. And one of the things that I was very taken with was the mapping that she'd used in her display, and how professional it was. Yeah, that was just that kind of quality of exhibition. It was a glorious night, and I was walking past my sunroom and I saw these wonderful reflections in the polycarbonate roofing. I took these photos. For contextual studies, I've been looking a lot at Richard Long, and I'm very drawn to his stonework and the line and the circle and the, you know, I don't know what it is, and I haven't really figured it all out yet, but I think it's very relevant in my work. And I love the mud clay paintings that he's doing. I love how he describes that they are, you know, like they are physical application of the body. All my work is physical. It's about my arms, legs, hands, and about where I choose to put it. And I just think there's something very relevant about that. I love how you know, he draws the line and he works within it, but he still manages to define the line, even the outline edges or the top and the bottom, even although these sparks and droplets are happening around it. So that's something I'd like to try myself. More of Richard Long, a little bit about Andy Goldsworthy, and I note the kind of change, you know, difference is that Andy is more ephemeral work. It's more, he describes it that he works with the nature as a whole, and his preoccupation with temporality and a specific attention to materials which visibly age and decay. And it kind of stands in view maybe a little bit against what Richard Long's materials are, although they're both very harmonious with the nature and complement the environment around them. This is my collection of shells from over the summer. Every time I go to the beach, I just come home with a pocket full, and I didn't know how I was going to display them, and I found these coin collectors pockets, and they've been great, and they really show them off. They're brilliant. Another basket weaving attempt to find a form. I made it in a hole, and then I took it apart because it would just kept expanding out and out and out, and I lost the edges, so I wasn't happy with that. But I really like the texture and the form within this element. I had a little bit left over, and I made this beautiful kind of concave shape. So I really love that one. Weaving with sort of raffia rope I have, Koya rope I think it is. And this is seaweed in the middle, so this was my first sort of seaweed weaving. And then I wove this completely seaweed piece, which I used, you know, the long lengths of seaweed, and used that, and then wove into it with other types of seaweed, and I produced this very 3D piece, which I actually really like. I think it's a necklace. Sewed dried seaweed together, made a frame for it, hung it up. And I wanted the frame, and I wanted to hang it because I really like the light coming through it. That's the element of it. It's that light and dark shade texture that the light gives it. More weaving. I seem to get into this weaving. Really not sure about it. I think it was really just a way for me to be busy with my hands and making something, and that I could kind of do sat by the fire where it was warm, because I was still living out in the shed at the time. Formed these circles. I took a dried piece of seaweed and sewed it together, very much in Amy Robb style. And then I also tried coiling it round, but this struggled to dry, and then I had to give the piece of pipe back, so it's now just sat in a coil on the floor, not doing anything, not drying or anything, because it's so cold. I went to the local harvest home, and they had decorated the hall with these sheaves, and I just thought that they were fantastic. I really wanted to take them home, because they were just like the Straw Boys, and like masks, and nearly expected somebody just to jump out of them. They were brilliant. I really wanted to take them home.